Hello, superstars. It's October, so happy October. I'm so glad to be here with you today, and today we're going to talk about that missing partner that your PTO has just been like totally missing out on, and that you need to get them into the game to really amp up what your PTO can do. But before I get into too much more of that, I just wanted to give a shout out to all of you for sticking with me. I'm so sorry I missed last week. It was recruitment for the sorority I advise. And I don't know if any of you are in a sorority, but you know that can be a crazy time. And I got very little sleep over the weekend and had lots to prepare to get us ready for the weekend. So that is now behind me. Thank goodness, until next September. So I'm really happy about that and happy to be back here, but I am playing a bit of catch up on everything I missed while I was gone. So sorry, but that's the way the cookie crumbles with me. I'm have lots going on, as do all of you. So today's Facebook Live topic is really inspired by an email that I got from one of our fabulous superstar members, Chelsea Denbo. So thank you so much, Chelsea, for this question. Chelsea is an active member of our community, and it's really great that she took the time to email me about this. So her question was, can you do another live video about raising support from local businesses? We have several things we want to present to local businesses: box stop partners, participation in our trunk or treat event, and financial sponsorship to help bolster our funds to enable us to hold family engagement events. She said, being a brand new school, our budget is extremely tight as there are no funds from the previous year to start with. She said, I love the video you did this past Wednesday. Thank you. But would love more detail on this subject. So I wrote back to her and said, no problem, I gotcha. I'll get to you. I'll put you on the list. So today is the day, Chelsea. So I hope she's able to watch. I know she's out in Las Vegas, and thinking about everybody out there and what she was going through. So I hope she has time to watch this, because certainly it will be a nice distraction that will also help her move her group forward with this. So I've never met Chelsea, but based on her email and from what she has shared in the group, I know that I'm pretty sure she has a pretty bubbly personality and gets really excited about things and really is passionate about all things PTO. I think especially with a new group, that is a huge endeavor, and a lot of people would normally shy away from being involved in a new group just because they're unsure about the time commitments and unsure about what's it going to look like. Some people really like to play within a set of rules. Not really rules, but expectations and stuff. So kudos to you, Chelsea, for jumping right on in. And also from the tone of her email, I could tell she was really excited about the mere possibility of working with businesses. And I just wanted to say, yay, great for being excited, but temper that excitement perhaps, and really funnel it, because I think it is so fantastic that excitement can be contagious, but at the same time it can be really overwhelming for other people. And this is not so much a criticism of anybody else, but really of myself, because I know that when I get involved with something, usually I'm balls to the walls involved, and it drives my husband batty. But that's Christina. And so there have been a couple times when I've not done that, but usually I'm all balls to the walls. I'm so excited. I'm dreaming about it. How many of you have had dreams about PTA or PTO stuff? Because I totally have, because I'm that much of a nerd. But anyway, I'm dreaming about it. I'm thinking about it. I'm always, in the shower, I'm thinking about what I can do to improve the group, make things better for the kids, make things better for the students, teachers and staff, and just how can I help? And so I know that can be, like I said, so contagious, but for some people who don't have such a high energy level as myself, it can be super overwhelming. So just a word to the wise, be a little tempered and with your excitement, and really, like I said before, funnel it. You just have to funnel it into the right way. And really, by funneling it the right way, you just need to create a plan. So Chelsea listed off what box tops, trunk or treat, and then I forget what the third thing is because again I'm still sleep deprived from the weekend. But she listed off like 3 different things that her organization was interested in getting business partnerships from, or business partnerships with. And I would just, my first suggestion to you, Chelsea, would just be to have your group really sit down and think about what they want to do for the whole year. So I would not go back to the same businesses to ask for their involvement necessarily in all 3 things. Oh, it was a financial sponsorship. That was the third one. I wouldn't necessarily ask for everything because I think a lot of times the businesses might feel nickeled and dimed with the constant requests. But I would really think more strategically about how that company or how that business could play a role, like how they truly could support and what that support would look like. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but I think that's better than just the quick hits of like you walking into a candy store, a locally owned candy store, and they like give you a gift certificate for $5. Well, that is great. That is fantastic support from the candy store, but like, is that truly like the type of relationship you want to have with that candy store or that local business? Like, I would think that it would be better to slow the roll a little bit, develop the relationship with that business owner, and then get a bigger, better sort of support strategy in place with them. So I think when you're approaching these businesses, and those really are the overlooked, I always call them overlooked or untapped business or untapped partner or untapped potential, because I think a lot of PTAs and PTOs just they're not looking beyond the 4 walls of their physical school building, or if they are, maybe then they're just looking to the district, but they're not really looking at the shop owners and the business owners that on the streets that they drive every day. And so really that's a missed opportunity there that most groups are not taking advantage of. And I know my groups have not been I think we're leaving a lot on the table by not being very strategic about it. So that's something I definitely want to change with my own groups, and definitely I suggest to others that you get a plan in place so you stop leaving that extra support when you might need it. So I'd like to see every PTO that wants to partner with businesses do this. Map out the entire year to see what it looks like. Map out all of your different events, plunk them into place, and then see at that level, on like the whole year-long level, where people could most support you. Maybe it's PR. Maybe it's not financial support, but it's PR for your carnival, just to get families to come in or families to participate in the 50-50 raffle or something like that. So like, think outside the box. So I also thought it would be awesome to give Chelsea some specific suggestions for each of those things that she mentioned. So for the box tops, how I see that local businesses could help, or specific businesses that I could think that would help. One's not a business, it's a government, which is a business, but you know what I mean, it's a different thing. Maybe ask at City Hall, like, could they put a collection box there for box tops, and you have a volunteer who just goes once a month and picks them up. How about the rec center in your area, or the YMCA, or houses of worship, churches and synagogues and mosques. Think about places where people frequent, and that's probably a good place to put a box top collection center. So the next thing that Chelsea wanted partnerships with were for the trunk or treat event, which is so timely because we're in October. So for there, I would contact local dentists, local pediatricians, and other businesses that deal with kids' activities. So the reason I'm picking these types of businesses is that they're going to be the most to have to gain from exposure at your event. So with all these businesses, you have to keep in mind they are a business, and as much as people want to do things out of the goodness of their heart, a lot of times they need to be getting something in return for it. So the pediatricians and the pediatric dentists, they all have something to gain, new clients. So you're going to want to take advantage of that and let them know, this is our school population. This is what it looks like. So these are how many people you could potentially be reaching, and give them that information, because they will be much more likely to participate and give their support than if you just go, hey, can you give me some, dental kits or whatever. Like, tell them what they're going to get out of it. So I guess it just really depends on like the type of business you pick, depends on your activity. So you want to be strategic about that. Like, you don't want to be picking bars perhaps to sponsor family events, because that certainly targets the parents, but I am guessing that your school administration might have an issue with that. So I would steer clear of bars. Maybe to host a parents' night out, however, now that would totally be appropriate, but not, not to be sponsoring, I don't know, t-shirts or for your fun run or something like that. So you want to pick the right business depending on your event and depending on your school. Certainly if you have younger kids, then you're just going to want to pick businesses that cater to families with younger children. And with older kids, maybe you could get like driving schools and stuff like that, but that's not really going to be appropriate for an elementary school, because that's not their person. That's not the person that they're trying to market to. The other thing you need to keep in mind is that you need to approach the businesses in the right way. So there are several ways to reach out to these businesses. It could be walking there in person. It could be calling, sending an email, or finding somebody that already has an existing connection with the business and going through them. Kind of like they could refer you or be like, hey, business owner, I know Chelsea, and she's doing a trunk or treat event, and this really makes sense for us. You should talk with her. But it all depends on the business. So if you are going to go in person, don't go on their busiest day at their busiest time, because you are not going to get a good response. But you might want to call ahead and be like, hey, can I talk with the owner? Like, you're going to have to do some research about each business to figure out what the right approach is. And also you're going to need to get to know the business of the business in order to know if it's the right business to partner with. Some businesses in our area are more likely to be supportive than others. And so I know which ones are the waste of time, because the owner, for whatever reason, doesn't see value in supporting the public schools in the area, which makes no sense to me, but whatever. I don't even waste my time with them. I go to the smaller businesses that have supported us in the past and will continue. And then when you approach them with whatever method of communication, make sure you're clear. Business owners do not have time. They just do not have time. So if it's too much work to even figure out what the ask is or why the ask is important, they're not going to. They're just going to move along, because you are not the only person in town asking for support. So you need to be clear on who you are, what you want, how they can help, and then what they get out of it. Like, if you're not clear on those things, your likelihood of success is pretty stinking low. So I hate to tell you that, but seriously, just those 4 things: who you are, what you want, how they can help, and what they get out of it. So, yeah, the 4th thing you think that you need to keep in mind is that you need to make it really easy for them to participate. In your letter, or in your email, or in your like your little script and what you say to them when you go in, make that information clear and make sure they know what the next step is. Offer to go in and pick up the donation. Just make it easy for them, because the easier it is for them to participate, the more likely they will. And conversely, the harder it is, you're not going to find success there. So you really need to make it super easy for them. And then the last thing you need to keep in mind is you totally have to follow up. Like, either way, if you hear back from them and they do want to participate, great. Then you absolutely need to be sending a note of thanks or an acknowledgement for their support. And then if you don't hear back from them, follow up with them. Like, again, business owners are busy, so they might need to hear it once or twice from you. And you don't be like a pest about it. Just be like, hey, I came in and I was just following, dropped off a letter, and I was just following up to see if you wanted to help support us. You know, do you have time to talk about it, or are you ready to go ahead and commit and make a donation and I can stop in? Like, let me know what works for you. But give them several options, and again, make it easy for them. Because especially if the person isn't there, like the owner, like the decision maker isn't there when you go in to visit or drop off your letter, then it may not have made it to them, or it may have gotten, you know, lost in the shuffle. So it's always a good idea to follow up. So, all right, I wrote out some notes to keep me on track here today. I think I have covered everything. The last thing I want to say is, if you need additional help with this, like you're like, Christina, I really don't know the exact wording. Really, please help me with that. Well, I have all of that. I have sample donation letters and sample like follow-up letters and all that goodness. And it's in the this fabulous guide that I've put together called the Fabulous Fundraising Guide. And it is 49 stinking pages of complete awesomeness. It gives you everything you'll need to run fundraisers, from how to pick one, how to pick the right fundraiser, how to choose the best timing, what prizes are the best, what prizes stink and you should totally avoid because they will not help participation rates and you'll just be spending extra money that you don't have to. And how to get teachers and staff involved. There's also tips on that. And then, oh my goodness, like all of the checklists and printables and planning sheets, they are super awesome. You can snag this fabulous guide using the bit.ly link of bit.ly, or so it's bit.ly/fab fundraiser. So again, bit.ly/fab fundraiser. So I encourage you to check it out. It'll really help your fundraising goals and efforts for this year, because it's pretty much everything's done for you. You just have to find the right company, but you follow all of the awesome guidance that's in the guide, and you'll be well on your way. Trust me, it'll be the best $20 you've ever spent for your group. So again, you can snag that at bit.ly/fab fundraiser. So if you have any questions, let's chat in the comments. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.